Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar where we will discuss Microsoft Dynamics 365 project service automation and how it can help your professional services team increase profitability with a better way to manage resources, client expectations, and increasing margins. So I'd like to spend a few minutes discussing the current state of the market. And there has been a significant shift in power over the last decade or so from the seller to the buyer, which has really brought us to this age of the customer where empowered buyers are really demanding a new level of customer obsession. And that is impacting businesses that are being driven to be much more agile and meeting the demands of their customers. And so what that's done is driven the project and the professional services organizations to have more opportunity to help these businesses meet the demands of their customers and helping them scale up and down in order to meet the needs for agility and innovation and customer service. So what does that do to the service market now? Well, we have an opportunity in the service market as a service provider to grow our businesses in this new global economy. And that customer empowerment is applicable to the service providers and their customers as well. And our customers are now demanding a much greater predictability, accountability, and really true value for the services that they're spending their money on. And this has actually seen an impact in more projects being a fixed fee or a fixed bid approach. And that puts a pressure on the service providers to make sure that they do their due diligence up front in order to maintain that margin of their services, but also they still need to stay competitive in this new global market. So this is a challenge for professional services organizations in today's market. In addition to that, we have a new culture that we're dealing with, and the culture is really being, the various cultures are being driven not only geographically, and the fact that we are becoming a global community and we're working with people not just in different regions of a state or the United States, but we're also working in a global economy where we're on different time zones and working with different languages, which is another aspect to the challenges that organizations face today. And not only is it geographically a challenge, but we also have a diverse workforce across many generations. And so with the millennials coming into this generational mix of service providers, this is causing potential collaboration and communication barriers that could be set up. And last but not least, with all of this going on, systems and processes are still displaced, and I see consistently a sea of Excel files and spreadsheets that are being used for reporting and for analysis, and that's just not working. So in addition to the different aspects that you may have culturally, whether it be your geography or your generation that you're coming from, you also have different needs based off of the different roles. So the practice director is really looking to the holistic picture of the practice. Is it profitable? And in order to get to be profitable, they have to have happy customers. The resource manager just trying to delicately balance that capacity and demand of their team, ensuring that the right people are working on the right jobs, and ensuring that their team is happy, because turnover is very costly in the professional services industry. Then you've got your project management office that has project managers delivering to their customers, and they're concerned with being on time and on budget and making sure that that customer is happy with the output. Then you've got your team members who are working across a variety of different projects as well as potential internal activities. And they have not only customer service goals that they're looking to achieve and make sure that they're meeting the demand of these project managers of the activities that are being placed upon them, while at the same time being that trusted advisor to the customer. They've also got billable utilization goals and targets that they need to achieve in order to drive that profitability that practice director is really looking for. And the impact of disconnected processes and systems is extremely significant for professional services teams. We have an environment that is basically setting themselves up in this globalization and multi-generational aspect with high levels of customer success that's being demanded on them, with these informational silos that are breaking down communication, inconsistent processes that are used across the board so that it's not easily transferable from one project to the next. You've got a loss of productivity across your team as they have to navigate through a variety of different systems and processes and procedures. And really an ineffective way of working, which could ultimately result in that turnover that I spoke to earlier, that is so costly for professional services organizations. So it is apparent, based off of research, that having a higher level of maturity from a process perspective will drive results. And in the SPI research done recently, in 2016, the top 5% of the best organizations show a 31% profit. The bottom half, actually greater than the bottom half, 55%, are getting only a 2% profit. So it's clear that processes and maturity, with technology enabling those processes, is going to drive your organization to a much better place and ultimately getting to that profitability. So project service automation, Microsoft Dynamics has recently released a project service automation. So I would like to give a quick solution overview before Matthew gives you a live demo, so you can kind of understand the context of what this application can do for you in order to driving that profitability for your professional services team. So Dynamics 365 is offering a single system of engagement for your customer and for your team to work within from the entire life cycle of the project, from opportunity to time and expense and billing your customers. So it's really giving you that 360-degree view of that customer and that account. And I think what's really important is that Dynamics 365 not only offers you the sales and the project management aspect of the solution, it gives you that single system of customer engagement across sales and marketing, across your project management, across your field service and support, and visibility into your financials, in addition to leveraging all of the Office 365 applications across that entire life cycle of a customer, and incorporating a lot of the new modern capabilities that Microsoft has been investing in, from Power BI for visualizations and analytics, Cortana, and for some more intelligence being driven behind the scenes, into even Azure Internet of Things, and in order to be able to be more proactive with your field services. So this is really a holistic solution that you can benefit from end to end for that customer lifecycle. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Matthew for his demonstration, and he'll show you what it looks like in action.
But let's go ahead and jump right on into the demo. So really what Michelle was getting at is, how do we grow profitability? How do we get our margins on point? Make sure our sales team is working really well with our engagement team, the services team who's actually delivering these projects and services and such. So I'm logged in here into Dynamics 365. And we can take a look at how that all works and some of the different tools available to help make that easier and to make you more effective and really impact that bottom line, get your margins up, get your profit up, so on and so forth. So I'm logged in here into Dynamics 365. Dynamics 365 has lots of different communities and capabilities in it. You can really manage the whole process from start to finish, starting all the way from marketing and sales into managing your actual projects and executing on those and making sure we're doing that right, into field service, being able to take ad hoc work requests and get those fulfilled and make sure that we're getting things done that we need to get done from out in the field. We also have a service management component that allows you to, our customers I should say, to submit cases and to get support that they need to be able to continue to use the products and services that you're delivering to them. All the way to voice of the customer, being able to capture feedback from those customers and understand how are we doing on this whole process, all the way from marketing to a support perspective. So really it's a full life cycle of managing your customers, all the way from getting them to gaining their feedback, and being able to understand how well or not well that you're doing on these different areas of the particular process. So today though, we're going to focus in on the project service area. And so starting out here, what I'm looking at right now is a sales dashboard where I can see open opportunities and things like that. And so this process really starts from the sales perspective. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into my open opportunities. So let's say I'm on the sales team, I'm say an account executive or someone of that nature. I have a lot of different opportunities that I'm working on. I can prioritize those opportunities by looking at the probability and the rating of them and such, and updating that as things change. I have a hot opportunity here right now, which is my Chic CRM opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and click into that. And we're going to kind of go through the process here of taking an opportunity all the way into a project and so on and so forth. So I have my opportunity here. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get it closed. And one of the first things I need to do is I need to build a quote, and I need to give that to the customer. I've been talking to them and working with them and figuring out what they want. Now it's time to put together a quote. And when I put together this quote, as Michelle mentioned, we want to make sure that our quotes are not too high but not too low, so that we don't run into the different problems of either not having enough time and having to eat a lot of costs on this particular project, but we don't want to make it too high as well and drive away a lot of our opportunities, not be able to close as much business. So one of the things I can do to help with this is I can switch here to my related projects view. When I do that, what it's going to do is it's going to show me projects that have happened or that are going on right now, and I can pop this up and I can be a little bit more analytical. So for example, I can filter for just certain project types. This particular opportunity is a business analytics type of opportunity. So I can look at just my business analytics projects that I've had recently. And I can see here, one of them hasn't started yet, but two of them have and may not be complete. But what I can see is the cost variance is over on both of these, meaning we've spent more than what we estimated to spend. We're not doing very good from a margin and from a profit perspective on these two projects. So what that tells me is in the past, it seems like we've been bidding a little bit too low on these types of projects. So maybe I need to raise my bid up a little bit to account for some of that, so we can make sure that we're going to be profitable in the long run, and these are going to turn into good projects for us that are going to generate revenue for our business. Right? So I can get some visibility into that really quickly, really easily, without having to leave and go somewhere completely different. I can do that right from within my opportunity. Then switching back to my opportunity form, now I want to go and I want to start working on that quote. So I can scroll down here, and I can see here are the different quotes that I have going on. We had an old one a long time ago that didn't go through. We're now working on a new one, so I'm going to pop open my new quote here that I've been working on. And then based off of that information that I just found, I want to make sure that we're going to be able to keep this profitable. So there's a lot of information in here in the quote, which can be really helpful. So as I'm building the quote, I can actually see what's my gross margin estimated to be. Looks like it's about 78%, which is good, great. 78% is a great margin. And I can come down here and I can see all the different details of things and such. And right here, this is showing me my project baselines, which is really the services work that we're going to be doing, which is generally charged at an hourly rate, something of that nature by role, depending on who's working on this project. Below that, I have my product baseline. So if we're selling them any products from our company that we offer, then we can include those in there as well. I'm going to jump into the services work here and focus on that today. When you build this quote, you can break out the quote into different detailed lines. In this case, we broke it out into different stages or phases of the project. So I can see we have an envision stage, and then design, then develop, test, training, so on and so forth. So we can kind of break that out into different buckets, which later on people are going to charge time back to, so we can see, as those hours accumulate based off of what we sold, and make sure we're staying on track. From here, though, what I can do is I can go and I can pop open my chargeability view. So if I click on chargeability here, this is where I can come in and I can actually modify the cost of these different resources, as well as the cost to the customer. And this is how I can start to make the margins better, and to make sure that we're making our quotes high enough, not too low, getting that right balance. So in here I can see we have by role a particular sales price per hour per resource here, and anything where the price of that resource is under the price, the price that we're charging to the customer is less than the price that we're actually paying for those resources, it'll show up in red, and we can see that we're going to be actually losing money on developers in this particular quote. Maybe we're okay with that because we're making money in other places, and still as a whole we'll be profitable on this project. But there are options that we can do to try to get this a little bit better. For example, one thing I can do is I can pop down my resourcing unit here, and I can see what happens. For example, what if we outsource that development work to India? Maybe we can get some cheaper developer prices over there, get a little bit cheaper labor. That'll help make our margins better. So you can really play around with this. I could also change the sales price. Well, instead of $120 an hour, let's at least get cost for these resources. Let's put that at $140 an hour, or whatever it might be, right? We can come type those things in, make changes, and then really start to work on this quote and make sure we get it to a place where we can get sign off on the quote, and it's going to be a good, profitable opportunity, or project anyway, for our business at some particular period of time. Cool. So now that I got my quote the way I want it, I figured out how we're going to handle the labor, and I figured out, all the different costs and what we're going to charge to the customer. I'm ready to send that out to the particular customer. I do so. Let's say they go, yes, great, we like it. We want to move forward with that. At that point, we would change this opportunity to closed won. And what that's going to do is that's going to create a project. So then, if I click over here, I can get myself into that particular project that's related to that quote. Under my sales section here, now more as a project manager, when I come in and I see here's my project that I need to start, kind of working on and planning out. I'm in the planning stage here, you can see. I can then see that particular quote in the contract that was actually signed, and I can start to build my plan based off of what was sold, so that we're all in alignment and we're not doing different things than what was actually originally sold, making sure that we're kind of bringing the sales and the services team together to make sure that we do this engagement properly, and that everybody's expectations are managed and met. So from there, I can actually then start to build out my plan. So one of the first things I might do is go and open my work breakdown structure. So if I come in and I click on my WBS for this particular project, I could build out line items in my project based off of what was in the contract. I could build this out into more detailed tasks under that if I chose to do so, or I can just kind of put high-level buckets, and this will really be where people are going to be tracking their time to, so that we can start to see, okay, for this particular phase, we quoted that these resources we're going to be working on it for this many hours, and we'll see a little bit later on how that all looks and rolls back up, and we can get an idea of what's going on there. Once you build out your WBS and you assign your resources, either generics or named, or a combination of both, then I can come in and I can go look at my project team, and if at this point there are any generic resources here, meaning we don't know who's going to work on this project yet, we just know we need a functional consultant, for example, then I can either highlight them and submit a request. That'll go to a resource manager, where then they can come in and utilize the tool to find the proper resource and switch them out, so I then have a named person to actually work on my project. Or if I'm allowed to do so and have the permissions to do so, I can come in and I can just hard book this myself. So this could be either the resource manager or the project manager doing this part of it. But the point is, the tool allows you to then come in and go, okay, I need to find a functional consultant. So I click on hard book here. That's going to pop open my booking resources view, and I can see it already automatically filtered out so that I'm just looking at functional consultants. So these are all my functional consultants here. Then over on the right, it's showing me how many hours that they have available comparatively to how many hours they're already booked within the particular period of time that I'm looking for. And over on the left, I can filter this down even more. So for example, I need a functional consultant, but specifically I need one who has skills in .NET. I need them to, be, very proficient at .NET. So I can put that, I can hit apply, and now it's showing me, okay, there are 3 people. But that's showing me good at .NET. Well, I want people that are really proficient, really, really good at .NET, who are like professional .NETers. And then I can hit apply, and notice it removes one more person. So these are our 2 functional consultants who are the best at .NET, have that skill, right? I can then hover over them, and it gives me lots of information about these people. If I want to talk to them a little bit before I go and book them, I can send them a message right through Skype for Business right from here, or send them an email, or give them a call if they're online, that type of a thing. I can see some of their skills and how proficient they are, how available they are. Catherine here is 100% available within this period of time, which is great. And her utilization target is 75%, so I want to help her to meet that. I have some work. She looks like a great fit. So let's go ahead and book her. So all I do is select Catherine, and then I'm going to hit book, and that will then switch out that generic resource with Catherine, so I can now, it'll automatically then update Catherine on all those tasks. Catherine will then get notified and see that she has those tasks. So let's go ahead and take a look then from Catherine's perspective, more from the team member's perspective. We can come back in here, and I can go into my bookings and tasks. So as a team member then, I come in and I want to see what I need to be working on this week. So I see I'm booked for a specific project here. This top line here is my booking, and it shows you how much time you're booked for that project and such. So that was, like that booking that we just saw there. And then I've been assigned to these particular tasks. So here's what I need to be doing for that project on the different days. As I start to work on those particular tasks, then I can click on them here, and I can update my progress %, and when it's completed I can check that off as completed, and I can put in other status options and notes and things of that nature, so that we can send that status and that information back to the project manager so that they kind of know what's going on. At the end of the week then, I also need to then go in and fill out my timesheet. So I'll come in and I'll go into my timesheet here, and I'll be able to fill out, okay, I worked on this task 6 hours for this project, and I worked on this one for this hours, and so on and so forth. And so I can fill out my time, which is then going to eventually translate into hours and cost to the customer, as well as profit and revenue to our business. I can also fill out expenses in here. There's an expense module that allows you to put in the expenses that you've incurred on this project, like say if you traveled on site to the customer and you needed a hotel and food and things of that nature. And then when you go to invoice, it'll automatically pull in all of that time and all of those expenses and calculate out based off of the rates and give you your invoice that you can then send off to your customer. And so it makes that whole process really nice and easy as well. So from there, as people are submitting time and updating status and all of this, I have my in-progress project that's going on. I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to go to an in-progress project here, like my VoIP phones project. And as this is happening, I can switch to my project status report view here, or form within Project Service, and I can see a lot of information around this project, the contract and all this, the work in progress. So we had a certain amount of estimated hours. We have actual hours that are rolling up for the timesheets. We can see how many is remaining, if we're over, under, how we're looking from a progress perspective. Then from a spend perspective, we can see we're estimated to spend this much, we've actually spent this much, what's remaining, what's the variance, so on and so forth. So we can figure out how we're doing there. And then from a revenue perspective, from the actual invoices that are coming in for this particular item, how are we looking? Are we keeping to what our targets were, and so on and so forth. Below that, you can get more into project status from the perspective of a narrative that you can type in and put around this project to say, well, what's going on in this period? I finalized the design of the circuit board. Work plan for next period, and you can fill in some narrative around that, and any other comments. Just so in the status reports that may go up to management, you can put in some more narrative around how this project's doing and give a little bit more information there. You can also track risks around this project. So I have multiple different risks. I may need to create mitigation plans for those and make sure that we're managing our risks properly. You can also track issues. So if there are issues that arise as we're working on this project and going through it, we can escalate those, bring attention, assign them, and make sure that they don't get lost and that they get resolved as quickly and efficiently as possible, so we can keep this project on track. There are also changes. So if there are changes that come from the customer or internally, and you need to be able to manage those changes, if they're like scope changes, for example, those might actually turn back into an opportunity, and there's a workflow that supports that allows you to convert that change into an opportunity, which then maybe we win more money, and then that could either add more hours into this contract and this project, or it could create a whole separate project for this particular customer as well. So kind of tying that whole process back together there. Also on the status page, we can get an idea of how we're doing by role. So cost performance by role. We estimated we were going to spend so much money. We actually spent this much money in forecasts and such, and we can compare those to each other and figure out which roles are giving us the best margins from a cost perspective, and where we're keeping on track, and so on and so forth. This one looks more at hours. So we estimated we were going to spend a certain amount of hours per role. We've actually spent a certain amount of hours per role, and we can see how we're doing there, how far we're off, and so on and so forth. So here's where you can come and you can kind of enter all the different status, and you can keep track of that. But what that's really going to feed then is all of your different reports. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and jump back into dashboards. And in my dashboards here, we have lots of different dashboards. We have a full pre-built report pack that allows you to get visibility of status, of resources, timesheets, so on and so forth. So let's take a look at some of those different reports. The first one that I'll jump into is that project status report. So we can come in here, we can see a little dashboard around our project status, and if we click on one of these visuals in here, we can drill in and we can start to get more information. So I have that project going on, that VoIP phones project, and I can see some of the key information around that project, and I see some of the project status narrative that we've put in. We can drill into the schedule here, and we can start to see all of our different milestones. Are we hitting them on time? Are we behind? How far behind are we? You know, things of that nature. I can get into it from a cost perspective, and I can see here by month how much are we spending compared to how much we budgeted. And this is all drill in, drill out capable, so you could actually drill out to, say, the quarterly level, and then I could come drill into that quarter. So you can, really go into whatever level of detail that you want in these different reports. Then the next one is looking at work, so focusing in on how many hours do we budget compared to how many hours do we actually spend over time for this particular project. We can look into resource plans of what was planned there. We can look at the issues. We can look at the risks, right? We can really start getting into all of the different information that was put in that status report, so we can keep track of what's going on, and we can print those out and so on and so forth and share those with higher level management. There's also a portfolio status report. So if I'm more of a portfolio manager or someone who's looking to look across multiple projects and get an idea of the status of those and which ones are having trouble and such, I can come in, I can look at my project portfolio status report, and if I click on any one of these particular visuals here, it'll again drill me in so I can start to do some more analytics and get more details around what's going on. Over in the right here, first I can see all my different projects that are going on, and I have some KPIs on the overall status, schedule status, work costs, etc., those types of things. And I see that 3 of my projects are at risk, 22 are over budget, 22 are behind schedule. We have some risks and some issues that are overdue, things of that nature. But from here I can start to filter it down. So maybe I just want to focus on a specific portfolio of projects, or just a specific owner of projects, just my own projects or whatever it might be. Or I could look at, say, overall health, and I can come in and go, I just want to see projects where the overall health is either red or yellow, where we're having some troubles, basically, that type of a thing. So I can come in, filter that down, and then start to get into all those details, just like in the project status report, except for it's a little bit different because we're looking across multiple projects, but we can see things under the schedule tab of like duration variances. How far off are we? I know we're off, but are we, a day off, a week off, a month off, a year off, those types of things, and start to get more details around that. You can look at a Gantt across projects. We can look at cost summaries, budgets versus actuals and what's remaining, costs over time, work overtime, all these different types of things, and again then risks and issues, but across all of these different projects. So I can see here, across the projects that I've selected, here are the different issues, here's who's assigned to them, here's when we plan to have it finished, all these types of things, and start to get really good visibility into what's going on, so we can make sure we're managing these projects, make sure that we're operating efficiently, and ultimately hitting our bottom line and making sure that we get good margin and good profit off of these projects. From more of a resource manager perspective, I can come in and I can go to the resource dashboard, and I can take a look and see some information around all of my resources that we have. You know, we have business analysts and DBAs and developers and project managers and all this. We can see who's available, and if I click on any one of these particular visuals here, then that's going to drill me in to that dashboard. And again, I can start to be a little bit more analytical, and I can chop this down, focus in on specific roles, specific people, and start to get a better idea of how we're doing from a utilization perspective, from an availability perspective, etc. So I come in here, I'll filter this down. Let's say right now I'm only interested in our project managers, our developers, and our support, you know, something of that nature. Or I could just focus in on a specific person or a specific department, or, you know, whatever you want to focus in on. I have a nice little dashboard here showing me where is the work going, the types of projects that we're doing. We have agile projects, we have service projects, we have, you know, all these different types of things. I can then get into utilization, and I can see this line here shows me the total amount of capacity that our team has. So they have a certain amount of capacity in hours that they can do for work. The bars down here, I should say, the colors, as you assign work to people, that's going to pile up. And so if that bar is way over this line, then we know that we're over allocating our teams as a whole that we're looking at here. If it's way under like it is here, that's a big problem as well. We're not utilizing our resources properly. So we have people that we're paying for that don't have enough work to kind of make that money back and make sure that we're keeping our margins up and so on and so forth. So the utilization report is definitely a very good, very useful report. You can get into availability. One of the cool things about a lot of these reports is that they're drill-in capable, as I mentioned before. So I can look at availability, say, by role. Here's how available my support people are as a whole, for example. And then if I come here and I click on support, I can drill into that, see all of my different support people, how available or not each individual one is, and that allows me to get to that next level of detail very easily to make sure that our people are on track and we're spreading things evenly, and so on and so forth. Next guy here is called committed versus planned, and so what this is showing me is, you know, we went and we put in the bookings and we created a high-level resource plan, and that's kind of this red line here of, you know, what we think we're going to need for this particular project. Then in our forecast, which is really like our WBS, our schedule, we forecasted that we think we're going to spend this much time. Here it looks pretty close. Then we went and we put in our actual time in our timesheet, and we can compare that to this and see what's going on here. So hey, you booked this amount of people, you're holding those resources for your different projects, you're forecasting that it's going to be that, and then we're coming in way under. You know, what's going on here? And you could see how that might be different. The timesheets might be way higher. Why are we spending a lot more time than we booked and forecast? And you really start to get good visibility into these different problems that are happening. So a lot of different things around resources there, but the idea is I can get a better idea of what my resources are doing, make sure that we're on track, that we're utilizing them properly, and that keeping people busy and booked with work. Lastly, then, we'll take a look real quick here at the Timesheet Analyzer. So as people are putting in their time, there are lots of different timesheet type reports that customers generally want. You know, we can see things like hours by resource, hours by status, so on and so forth. And if I click into one of these, then again, I can start to be more analytical. I can drill into certain roles or certain people or certain projects or whatever I might want to do here. There's even compliance reports built in, so I can come in and I can see who has submitted and who hasn't submitted their timesheets. 9 are in progress, 8 are pending approval, 6 of them have been approved. It's the end of the week. We need to get all of these all approved. What's going on? And so I can start to get visibility into that. If you want to see hours by project, for example, we can see where we're spending our time here by portfolio, then project. We can see here the different people who are spending their time by quarter, by month, by year. It, you know, kind of totals it all up. And if you want to, you can also export all of this data into Excel if you needed to do that for any reason. But you know, it's all here, it's all available, and you can get a good idea of what's going on from a timesheet perspective. Lastly then, if I'm more of an executive and I'm looking for some high-level dashboards and reports, I don't necessarily need to even go log into CRM and do that. We've built a full report pack of reports, and a lot of those reports I just showed were all in Power BI. So as an executive, I could just go to Power BI, I come in, I see the different reports and dashboards here on the left that have been shared with me, so the things that are important to me, and I don't have a lot of noise in a lot of other places where I can kind of get lost. We can present present this very nicely in dashboard format right here, and we can see things like gross margins over time, targets versus actuals, to make sure we're kind of keeping on track. And this is a very financial focused type dashboard around customer profitability. But there are others on project status and so on and so forth, as we've been seeing. And if there's something here that I want to see that I don't currently have in my dashboard, Power BI allows you to very quickly, very easily be able to really create visuals, create reports without having to be the most technical user in the world. You can be just more of a business user. And the way I can do that is just by clicking in the Ask a Question area here. What I can start to do is I can do just that. I can ask a question and type in really a search result. They call it natural language query. And it allows you to type something in, and it's actually going to create a visualization based off of what I type in. So let me show you what I mean. Let's say as a manager, I want to be able to see, I want to show gross margin, let's say. And notice as I'm typing, it's creating visuals down here, and you'll see this kind of changing as I type things in. And it also gives me suggestions of what I might be looking for, so I don't have to necessarily know field names and things of that. It's going to kind of help me out to build this query, just like if you were using any other search engine, internet search engine, that type of a thing. So I want to show gross margin, let's say by customer. So now I'm showing my gross margin by customer. It actually created this chart, this visualization based off of what I just typed in. So very easily I can create visuals and reports that I want to see. From there, if I don't quite like the way it is, I can change it. So let's say I want this to be a column chart instead. I can just type in column, and now it's a column chart. Or maybe I want it to be a pie chart, and I can type in pie. So I can kind of get it the way that I want it. If you really want to be fancy, you can come over here on the side, and there's lots of other tools built in where you can change fonts and colors and all kinds of things and styles and sizes and all that, and really get a little bit more fancy. But if you're okay with it just the way it is, it's as simple as that. To create these simple types of visuals to get you the information that you need. I can pin this back to my dashboard, like my customer profitability dashboard there. And if I go jump back into that dashboard then, down at the bottom here, here's that new visual I just created. I can make it bigger or smaller and drag and drop it. So it really empowers me as a business user without having to be a developer or anything crazy like that to be able to get the information I need to make the decisions I need to be able to make and get visibility into what I'm looking for. So hopefully you can see with that that you can really manage a project all the way starting from the opportunity, connecting that services team to your project services team, kind of building that relationship together, making sure they're working as efficiently as possible so that you can manage these projects and make sure that you're keeping your margins on point, and then getting visibility into everything that's going on there.
Great, thanks Matthew, great demo. So what I wanted to do is just take a couple slides to wrap up and discuss the benefits. And as I mentioned earlier, obviously enabling a tool to drive those best practices and processes that you establish as your maturity grows are really going to drive that bottom line. So you can see in here it increases your bid to win ratio, improving your billable utilization, improving your project performance, being able to drive more revenue per employee, and ultimately getting to that project margin, which is really what you're trying to achieve from an overarching standpoint for profitability. So in summary, implementing a professional services automation solution is really going to drive the bottom line for your organization and enable you to take your organization to the next step with enabling sales and services to have a more streamlined transfer of information. You're going to improve the collaboration, driving potential upsell and cross-sell opportunities. It's also going to give you the information that you need in order to make decisions as a more data-driven organization with current, up-to-date information that's going to give you leading indicators to help predict how your business is going to perform. And last but not least, it's going to give your team the ability to perform well across the multi-culture, multi-generation team standpoint and reduce that likelihood of turnover of your employees. And we all know that happy employees will enable happy customers and drive happy customers, which will drive profitability. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up with a little bit of introduction of Tivity. Tivity, we are a Microsoft Gold Certified partner, and we focus on providing end-to-end business solutions that are offered in the Microsoft platform, such as Dynamics 365, Microsoft Project Online, Visual Studio Online, and that type of thing. We have an end-to-end professional services organization that can support you throughout implementing a solution through a variety of different packages. We also have an education and training department that can provide you with training on your terms, whether you want to do instructor-led, virtual learning management system. We have a variety of options based off of your needs. We also have a support program that can take you through the entire life cycle of your application from a maintenance standpoint. And we also have optimization services for if you're looking to stand up a PMO internally within your professional services organization, help with business process improvement, maybe perform some staff augmentation. We have those services as well. And our goal is to really take Microsoft platform and tailor it to meet unique business specific needs for different organizations. And that being said, we do have a variety of implementation options. We do not believe in starting from scratch. We like to take our best practices that we've incorporated of over 20 years within the project and professional services industry and incorporate that into our implementation so that you have something to start from. And then we can basically tailor the implementation, whether you're looking to get up and running very quickly and really try the system out, or if you have a very high maturity internally and you want to map this tool to those processes that you've already established, we can move into more of a select type of implementation. Just to give you a little more background about the Kickstart, if you're really looking to build a business case and understand how project service can help you and help you gain executive buy-in and really accelerate that deployment to give you accelerated time to value, Kickstart program is something that we do offer and we would be happy to provide you more information with. And in addition to that, if you're interested in having us help you build out an assessment and a roadmap, or you wanted to try out project service for yourself, we can support both of those options. If you could just reach out to info@tivity.com, we would be happy to schedule a time to run through a personalized demonstration with you and then discuss which of these options might be best for you to move forward with. We also invite you to learn more at our website at www.tivity.com/PSA. We also have a website at project-service.com. And you can feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn or reach out to us directly. Here's Matthew and my contact information on the screen. We would love to help you out. We really appreciate you guys attending and taking the time to learn more about how Dynamics Project Service Automation can help you. And we hope you have a great day.